Look how beautiful. Look at the
Is it?
beautiful.
Is it beautiful? Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's the cycle of life.
Is it going in a circle?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Kind of.
What is
I
it
don't know.
called?
I just pulled something from the internet.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Yes, I just rely on my visual intuition that this is gonna work aesthetically. And have I been off?
Um,
I
you
don't
know,
think I've been off.
we won't. I mean, there's little things, I could pick up. I mean, there's always something with frustration.
You could do it too. You could have thrown this together. You
Oh
knew that we were
well,
doing this.
yeah. No, this. I mean, then this is just totally fine. It's amazing, actually.
Exactly. It's the sacrifice you make. So okay, we're talking about Synflow, Contraflow today. Um,
So, like, um, one of the things about this, I was going to say famous, but that's a.
I would say that. Like
Well,
let's first even make
well,
it
first I
clear
was going
that
to
you
say,
came up with this.
well, I did. Yeah, that's true. I came up with this around. It's at least 15 years ago, I think, ish.
Mm,
What's 15 years ago? 2000, what, 10?
something like that.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, somewhere in there, give or take 2 years. Um, uh, but what I was gonna say is like, um, it's kind of like, it was kind of like this with the Baba Chakra thing. I just know when something is pregnant and
Mm-hmm.
it's there. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just know, I don't know what it is, but I just know for sure this thing is like, just, it's like, uh, a fecundity, of
Mm-hmm.
things that it's gonna it's just a intuitive sensation of some kind of archetypally loaded something con
Yeah.
concept or whatever. And so, you know, uh what I was gonna alluding to is just that people would ask me, so you're the one that came up with this, so what does it mean? And I would say, I don't really know. Because well, it's just so many things. And I mean, it's also one of those things, um, it's dumb, but just like, can't you just feel it? Just like, it just, you do something with it, it's got all these seeds, just you go grow your own thing with it. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which has happened to some degree. You know what? Here's something, and this is maybe not so well known. I didn't come up with those terms. Somebody
Okay.
else did, Contraflow, Synflow, and I'd actually be curious to know who did. Um, I have no idea where those terms came from, but I suddenly saw it pop up. That this is the one idea out of all of my sort of ecosystem that's like the most, that kind of like took off.
Mm-hmm.
I just started seeing it right away on other sites and stuff. I mean, a year or two later or whatever. But
So
anyway.
you think it was someone in conversation, like online, that you were
Well,
having this and they
so I mean,
suggested
the
these names,
the
or?
the great reveal was on the old Riso Hudson discussion
Mm-hmm.
board. It was called EIDB,
Mm-hmm.
Enneagram Institute discussion board. I was gonna say database. Um, and that was when, man, I was really obnoxious on that discussion board, and it's kind of interesting. I could go on all tangents, but I'm kind of thinking of the zone stem thing right now because we
Mm-hmm.
did another episode about it, and I'm like sexual social in social, and like I
Mm-hmm.
went into that whole forum. I kind of wanted to do an experiment in just like being just on and not a nine, and being, an obnoxious big personality and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of took over the whole thing in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird. Yeah, well, so I'm pronouncing myself the Messiah of EIDB, right now here. But
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. It was a time that I did not
yeah.
engage in, so
Mhm.
I'll believe anything you tell me.
Well, yeah, just believe, have faith. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Um,
Well, for now,
for now, for
in the
people
moment that we're in
in the
now,
moment.
um, I personally wanted to talk about this just as its own topic
Yeah,
because we reference it a lot.
yeah,
And for anyone stumbling upon this universe and they don't know what that means, and even for the people who do know what it means, but I don't know, just like to engage in it
sure.
and get new insights, because I
Yeah,
agree that it is one of those things that just continues to unfold in its capabilities of describing Enneagram instincts and
yeah,
experiences and stuff.
yeah. There's something that's, again, I mean, it's sort of the nature of, you could say, contraflow, but it also is in a way synflow. It just is. It's archetypally loaded. It's like
Mm-hmm.
really condensed. It just has so many different things that it relates to and
Mm-hmm.
reveals, and about cycles and just a million different things that have come up over the last 15 years.
So, what I mean by what I was saying on the first slide, the directional movement or whatever I said, what did I say? Dynamic direction of the instincts
Hmm.
is that they go in this type of movement. Like if we have a dominant instinct, which we keep talking about
Hmm.
in the typing videos,
Right.
we all have a dominant instinct we're very unconscious about, but at the same time it's collectively purposeful. There's a way that you're like, because majority of the population is self-preservation, that like there's a good reason for that, right? Like it serves like a species purpose.
Yeah.
So having your dominant instinct, that means a secondary one doesn't have as much focus on it, and then your blind spot definitely doesn't have a lot of
Hmm.
focus on it. It's not nuanced. It's
Right.
often black and white. It holds a lot of, I mean, each instinct's going to hold a lot of shadow, but it's just to what attention you're putting that is different and stuff like that. So, starting at self preservation, the arrows can turn towards social and then towards sexual and then back to self preservation. And you have this movement, this circular movement and motion that feels more natural. And so that's why it's called Synflow.
Hmm. Yeah. Like you could say self-pres is the individual, the baby, the the meat of a human being, and they learn language. That's which is social, the meat needs to breathe, right? So that's the second thing, you know, it's like born on Earth, and then, sort of like animals, um, uh, sexual instinct is, in some sense, an adornment. It's a decoration almost on one level, but it also happens to produce life. So it's all a trick to produce life.
So, okay, so that's like normal. I also liked it's similar to what Joseph was talking about in our instincts episode, in a like when we were typing people and the instinct
Mhm.
stackings, is that like the synflow motion of like self-pres social, we go to work, we have
Yeah,
a normal day,
that's
social
amazing. Yeah,
sexual in the evening, we go out and party,
yeah,
and then sexual self-pres at night is
yep,
where we do all that stuff with the
yep,
people we
yep,
like and
yep.
blah 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 blah, or the person we like. So it's a
It's the
very
day to day.
natural, it's the
It's
day to
inflow.
day.
Yeah.
And it's we can get into it. Then I have two other slides that we can actually just talk about these things isolated, but that's the
Hmm.
movement you
Hmm.
can see in that. And then contra flow, on the other hand, it is what contra sounds like.
Well,
It
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, like, I mean, maybe it's too redundant to what you already said about synflow, but like, everybody, at one level, you could say everybody is doing self-pres social, right?
Yeah.
Like that is what life is.
Hmm.
Life isn't um, just attracting and having sex and getting high on electricity with people and energies and, interestingness and sparkle and crackle and creativity and stuff, right? Or whatever. So everybody's doing a job. Everybody's doing cooperative stuff so that the self-pres individual can survive. You got to have all of these people you interact with, and so on. And so, kind of like what you're saying. So, like self-pres social is the work week, the 5 day
Mm-hmm.
work week, and then social sexual is the party, and then the party. You could say if there's like a romance, a weekend romance or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just like how the sexual instinct is just a brief time in the year of uh, an animal, and otherwise animals are in some ways more self-pres-social, you could say, than we are. That's hence in the Bhava Chakra, it correlates with SPSO, the animal realm. So then you've got just this brief um, peak thing or whatever, and then it's well, if you're only, I guess you could say there is higher vibration versions of, there are higher vibration cycles that can happen on these. There's like the low budget mid-range, of everybody going to work, getting drunk on the weekend, having a one night stand, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got that sexual self-pres thing of there's something that's depressing about it or whatever, or it was, well, because you're going back to work and the sort of sexual instinct in social sexual, like everybody getting together and then maybe the one night stand or whatever, it seems like something should happen, like something should
Yeah.
actually change
Yeah.
or something, but then it's like, back
Mm-hmm.
back to the grind, right? Part of what I don't know if I'm doing tangents here, but like part of the, let's say the inspiration at a neurotic average level, but also at a higher vibration level, it takes form, for the motivation or part of it for the self-pres social thing, whether it's self-pres social people or people that aren't self-pres social that are doing the daily grind, is you have to have something in front of you that is positive, that's got that social sexual um seven-ish thing. Like there's got to be more things. There's got to be, I mean, and sometimes it's
That's
that
true.
common
Yeah.
form of I mean, that's a big part of whatever consumerism is. I
Mm-hmm.
want the next shiny, big, shiny thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working, 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 so I need to reward myself with the next shiny object, which is really fits that social, sexual. There's a shine thing happening there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
self-pres and with sexual social, there's a shine thing. One of the problems, slight side tangent, one of the problems, let's say, with this whole Synflow Contraflow thing is that it's sort of like the thing of people wanting to be certain types, certain Enneagram
Mm-hmm.
types, because they think it's the cool thing or the self-aggrandize or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, so a lot of people decided they were Contras or whatever because it sounded better on my website, or other people described it or whatever. Um, but what was I going to say? But um, Well, it just does happen to rule sort of, it's like archetypally leveraged, because of just
Right.
what it is. And so, one thing that hit me a year or two ago is, that you might have heard me say it on the podcast, but that, um, the word that the ancient Egyptians had for Egypt, for their place, was Kemet, and Kemet means land of the rich black soil. That's
Mm.
exactly SPSX right there. I mean, that's a really good symbol for
Oh, okay.
SPSX, like, procreative, really rich. And if you think about things like compost and rotting, all of that stuff, it's
Mm.
very SPSX-ish, but it's death and decay that's super charged to, um, well, it supercharges life and plant life and activity and, you know, like. it relates to that whole realm of uh, mushrooms and this whole
Mm.
network. Well, to me, like Egypt, well, I'm totally idealizing, but I'm right to do so. It's like the thing about Egypt is that's one of the things of the many mysteries is that it was like, I mean, the main thing that bring that what is it that brings up this subject is that there's a progression of the pyramids where they started out perfect and they got less perfect over the thousands of years. So,
Mm.
um, well, there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff to say, but um, like it, part of why Egypt is so fascinating and it has this kind of like it still glows gold or something from from I don't know. There's just this. There's something there, right? Something happened, and and what I'm getting at is I think it was how things are, how a civilization actually is exactly supposed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that is that all the contraflow stackings, first of all, were all equally lit up, right? You had
Right.
you had the Nile, um, which was feeding the black soil, and the water was actually coming up to the pyramids or right under the pyramids, and they say it was a power source. That the pyramids are actually some kind of something akin to, you know, giant electrical whatever transformers or a nuclear power plant or whatever is actually what they were, kind of that kind of thing. And then you had the social self-pres. So you, while the sexual social and the social self-pres with Egypt is like one of the symbols for sexual social is stars, right? Um, and then social self-pres um, is ordering the stars, right? Like there's a way that astrology, for example, is social self-pres. It's, you know, knowing there's something in the sky um, that is the higher truth and the order of things, writing it down, telling it to the people on Earth, and that's so social affecting, high affecting low, the Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, that's
Yeah.
also as above, so below,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so on. So social self-pres is also, you know, we've talked about it as like the civilization builder, right? When it's in its higher vibration, that is what it's about. I mean, it's about um, yeah, just higher and higher excellence. And it's got that one type one overlap, right? So it's about reforming and bettering and so forth. And it would make sense if there are higher, truly higher eternal principles that if they're integrated into the system of things, um, that you would have a grand civilization that is, I don't know, just it's giving an equal weight to everything.
No, totally. I think that that example too of like just the culture, Egyptian culture and kind of its principles essentially that it made sure to lay out and have as an important part of the structure of their culture
Hmm.
is, yeah, definitely feels a lot more contra. One of the things that I pull from that as well, I mean, just this in general, these movements, and to comment on like people's over identification with being one of these
Hmm.
stackings. I think like kind of like you said a little bit in the beginning, but like we're experiencing all of these like all the time in different processes. And that's why it's important to understand them like archetypally, because archetypes are not part of your personality. They're not to be like identified with as personality. Like we're all equally as stuck
Yeah.
in the instinct structure, and like the instinct, what it's dominating versus like what it's ignoring, what it's
Mhm.
unconscious of versus what it's conscious of.
Yeah.
But knowing these processes like actually really help you in that, like
Yeah.
how to not really get like to be more conscious of it. You
Yeah.
need both of these processes like available, you know.
And to me, you need it to be um what is it? Couched in um mytho-poetic symbolic language
Yeah.
to um get at something that again has sort of a like an archetypal leverage. I'm using whatever my body type language, but just that you sense it, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's part of why I think why this concept of contraflow, synflow did something for people is that, well, they don't know what's happening, but something's happening like at the level of their body, right? That it's
Yes.
like resonating, something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right. And too, like when, I can change the slides to the
I wish you would.
actual Synflow and Contraflow.
Hmm.
Um, just because we can talk about it like in its isolated form, but there
Sure.
is, I don't like, I kind of said it a bit in the instinct episode that we just did, but like to think of the instincts as this like forward moving, beneficial to the species survival kind of thing. Like Synflow makes sense. We start out self-pres social, majority of the population is self-pres social, and there's something about the internal processing that Synflow types do versus what contra
Hmm.
stackings, contra types do that are just like vastly different.
Hmm.
And I think that's what people can really feel like within themselves, within the examples, within,
Yeah.
the world that like I even know just me being social self-pres, growing up in a very primarily self-pres social community that it's like I could feel the difference and it wasn't just
Oh yeah.
it wasn't just the normal nine
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm different that
Right. 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 Right.
no, like I'm literally processing
Yeah. Yeah.
life
No. No.
differently.
A different
And
animal.
yeah, it's different animal and
Yeah.
it's like not, and that's why I think it's important to understand that it's similar to like MBTI and OPS and stuff like that. It's like it doesn't mean any, like you can't necessarily compare that like I'm doing something better than another person because we're all unconscious of what you're doing, like what your even your dominant instinct is
Hmm. Hmm.
unconscious, so it's like it's not like it is any better than the other person. Like each instinct
Sure. Yeah.
stacking has just as much work to do on their dominant instinct as they do on
Oh
their
yeah.
blind spot.
Oh, totally.
But for sure, like the why it would be structured that I wake up every day immediately thinking about other people because I'm social and just like the social sphere. Whereas everyone in my life, essentially, that I am with shoulders to shoulders with every day,
Hmm.
wakes up and thinks about their breakfast and thinks about what their
Not having
day is
enough
going to look
money,
like.
rent. Yeah.
Yes, who
Yeah.
think about their well-being, like, their energy levels, what they have, what they immediately have energy for and what they don't. Like that, all of this being something that they're automatically considering, like what do I have to do today? What are the things in my home, in my life I need to get together, I need to organize, I need to consider, like that kind of like automatically having that map, that doesn't mean that they're good at it. I'm projecting that myself as that, oh, these guys got it and I don't. But like people just having that on their dashboard automatically. And it is something that they cater to, it's something they pay attention to, it's something that they're considering, is just vastly, vastly different from what I'm waking up and considering every day and reaching for. I think that's the other thing too, is that like your
Mm.
instincts being in the body, like you are reaching for and thinking of that movement, like you're reaching for something.
Hmm.
whether it be your attention, whether
Hmm.
it be physically, whether it be in a grander scale of life, like that
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Right.
And so it's just like, yeah, there's a way that that type of reaching is a choice that informs your identity and your sense of identity in the
Hmm.
world. So it's like that's where it gets caught up in the personality. And
Yeah,
that's why you can see the patterns like so obviously in
totally.
personality because people are over identifying themselves with the pattern rather than really letting themselves
Yeah.
feel the instincts in a more conscious way or experience them in a more conscious way and they're not so stuck.
But and that's what like um people are that's part of what personality is, you know, in all cases, even people that don't know Contraflow, Synflow, or whatever, or personality types, is that you are religifying, deifying, you know,
Yeah.
your your you know, the superego that is formed by all the components in your typology, your trifix, the wings on the fixes, the
Hmm.
stacking, it all makes a superego in the sense of, not necessarily exactly the sense we use it as for 126 and all that, or Freud, but just the thing that's saying this is the thing I should be doing or saying or feeling or whatever going towards, and this is a yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the engine of the whole fucking thing.
Hmm.
It's yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, should, shouldn't, good,
Hmm.
bad, right, wrong, black, white. It's that whole thing, and well, that's the other thing that this is pointing to is like the triangle where I've got the overlaps of social and self-pres at the bottom. Like self-pres is me and my world, and social is the bigger picture, and like in Gurdjieff's thing, and those form oppositions, right? And you've the left wing and the right wing party, and
Hmm.
da da da, right? And there's a whole
Right.
thing you can do with all that that just like pings makes a whole lot of sense with all of it. But you know, like with the law of three, the reconciling force is always the invisible force, right? Like we always see black and white. We always see
Hmm.
the opposition, but the thing, and it's interesting that it's on point nine, and it's you know putting all of my ecosystem together here. Water and fire are the elements with sexual, and those are all doing this, and there's not a form. Whereas like social and self-pres, they firm each other up, right? They make
Hmm.
structures, and they're dry, and you can see them, right? Whereas like just kind of like the snake, the fire and water are resisting form in different ways, right? So,
Right.
and that's threatening to the ego and the personality type. The personality, I mean, fixation is no, I need to fix, I need to stay the same, right?
Yeah.
It's gotta be this. Let me do a dramatic. One thing you could say too is that social and self-pres, that's Earth, right? That's the
Hmm.
flat, that's existence. And to be on Earth, you have to have a personality.
Hmm.
You have to. It just happens. You're going to have to ask your mom for a cup of orange juice when you're three or whatever, right? And there's a way you'll ask her, right?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, Giving you some boring self-pres stuff. Um, so, so, um, and one thing you could say, like sort of almost in opposition to this, what we're doing here, is that what really is often happening is that everything is just digging that groove on the bottom of the triangle, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, right? It's just
Right.
I'm just trying to survive. getting my paycheck. I'm going to get groceries. I'm, you know, fixing my
Mm-hmm.
car, blah, 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 right? And then, having kids, right? That's making the pig of the bhava chakra fatter and fatter, and you got to get a bigger house, and now you need to get a second car, and now there's another kid, and we're getting more stuff, and blah, 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 blah. So we're just doing this, right? And it makes it harder to do anything that goes up, right? And it's too threatening because, well, just everything we built was about building solidity, even if
Mm-hmm.
it was solidity like in the social self-pres sense of, you know, connections and certain affiliations or whatever, right?
Right.
Or a position or, a role as a renowned psychic and dream interpreter or whatever.
I even think like social too is where romance is. It's the other
Hmm.
as well. Like it's not even I think that's why like social does represent actually recognizing an other, and then like
When you said
sexual.
social too, what do you mean by what are you
Oh,
meaning?
just like going from self-pres to
Oh,
social.
okay.
And that and back and forth and back and forth, but like that kind of movement, like social
Oh,
can
yeah, yeah, yeah.
also,
That's right.
because even in sexual types they're kind of just looking at people in a
Totally.
sort of like
Yeah.
they're not seeing them in like the transformational sense
No, yeah.
of transformational self and
No, and
like
that's one thing I want to throw in there. Sorry for interrupting, but just
no,
like,
go ahead.
yeah, what I'm saying there is like sexual types are doing this dumb
Yeah.
thing too with sexual, right? It's like it's not at all like a thing like sexual types or people with secondary sexual or whatever are doing some better integrative or more that they're less stuck or
Yeah.
fixated. They're
Hmm.
they're all fixated, and that's
They're
part.
see and that's the thing, like their sexual types are seeing like the object of desire as self-pres, like need, my
Yeah, yeah,
need, I need this
exactly.
met,
Oh yeah,
it's mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's well, and I mean, part of the sexual instinct is wanting to be objectified. Like
Yeah.
that's a big compliment, right? They
Hmm.
want me as an object, like, they and it's not just want me. It's like they really need to have me. Like it's like that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's a drug or whatever.
Hmm.
Like that. Yeah, that wins
Hmm.
points. For the
Hmm.
sexual instinct. Like objectify me, please. Right.
So for Synflow, I mean, I all the Synflow types, self-pres social, social sexual, and sexual self-pres,
Mhm.
they all to me feel like they do have a more natural way of going into the collective, as in like they have some kind of natural, whether it be instinct, impulse, sense of something that allows them to reach out, to even say something, to um I don't know, vibe with people or whatever. Like it doesn't mean they like it. It just means that you can tell that in their psychic structure that they are kind of turning over in their heads of just like, well, I got to do this to do that to do that. Like, I need to collect this much things. I need to do this in my daily routine. I need to go here. I need to talk to this person. Like, it is a movement that goes from one thing into the other,
Yeah.
and they have like hiccups in that, or they have insecurities in that, or whatever, but ultimately it continues to turn, and the
Yeah.
point is that it's going to go to the next thing, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I see them like when we're observing them in like celebrity videos or in real life or whatever, it is like just kind of more naturally including themselves and the other in
Yeah.
some kind of process. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and like one way to show up the contrast is looking at the two social blind stackings.
Yeah.
Like I've said for a while, SPSX is the more social blind of the two social blinds.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, well, because I mean, we talked about it before, but like you could say sexual and social are going out towards something, right?
Hmm.
Attracted towards something, right? And so self-pres is, continually checking back in with me, right? So if you're self-pres dom, it's like there's a wall around. I'm in an encasement, and then I've got, let's say, herm- hermaphroditic, androgynous, sexual inside this in enclosed thing, and so like I'm making my own crazy, what is it, kooky, mind babies, right? So like it's called it cabin fever of the mind,
Right.
relates the five overlap too. It's just like it, well, sexual self-pres, you could say, just this is broad brushstroke, but it's at least interested in being attractive in a certain way. I mean, SPSX is
Hmm.
too, but it's like it's more, well, for one thing, it's sexual second, so it's kind of like social sexual is. It's kind of cocky about already
Yeah.
having it, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever, generally speaking. So anyway,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's kind of like not always the first importance. It's like the self-pres object is kind of like what we were seeing with Tom Waits is like,
you're talking about
you
with
know,
SPSX people.
yeah, self-pres sexual is like the object is this like strange, it is part of my
That's right.
like
It's
sexual
charged.
allure. Yeah,
It's
it's
charged.
charged. Yeah.
Supercharged.
Whereas with sexual self-pres, it's like, oh no, it's me and this thing that's
It's
happening.
yeah, it's a chemistry thing that has to happen with somebody else.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's why with sexual self-pres, like they do need an
Mhm.
other, or they
Yeah,
think this is
yeah,
the
yeah.
delusional, like the
Sure.
egoic,
Yeah.
that they think they need the other person to get that hit, just like a social type thinks they need the other person to get that hit.
Right.
Whereas self-pres sexual is going to be doing, and in turn self-pres social is
Mhm.
doing something a
Right.
little different. They don't need another person, although it's a consideration. It's just not literally like life or death if I don't get it or have it, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Well, I was just going to reiterate back to that, the Egypt thing, Kemet, the
Mm.
charged soil. So it's like
Ah,
that
yeah.
is what SPSX is, in symbolic space. Not necessarily a personality or something, though it has some implications there, but it's like it's supercharged,
Mm-hmm.
objects, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
dirt, it's earth, or physical objects, or artistic art, objects, or that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
fetishes, you know.
Yeah. Whereas like with sexual self-pres in this kind of synflow cycle, there is more of like, to me, I feel more of a sense of like the alchemical
There you go.
personal
That's it. That's it.
transformation.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas like the Contraflow cycle does have that kind of like collective and
Solipsistic,
valuable.
right?
Yeah, like
It's
there
it's
is.
it's because it's, um and again, this isn't like actually aggrandizing the people who are contra, but it because it is, I don't know, somehow archetypal archetypally charged. It's, something that comes through with it, with the people who are contra, is, well, there's some kind of thing around, well, um being complete unto yourself in some way, in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way, having the whole thing. There's a way that, one thing you could say too is, um that if we're looking at the flow of contraflow, it's a harder flow, and that's why why it rules longer cycles. Like they don't like each other more. They, you know, like all the instincts don't like each other, or the stackings don't like each other, or they're even mortal enemies on one level.
Totally.
um, but well, if you think about, uh, social self-pres, one angle is as the arbiter of what is heaven and what is hell, what should be high and what should be low.
Mm-hmm.
And like social self-pres, the flow is to go into the low, right? And so that's
Right.
like, that's why it's so like kind of like type one, that overlap of social self-pres and one. Um, like so fire and brimstone, so
Mm.
crusader is because they're I'm going down. I'm actually going down into hell, and I'm all about high civilization and
Yeah.
being an upright something, you know,
Yeah.
that is an authority or whatever the fuck,
Mm-hmm.
or
I
no.
think that's another interesting thing too, to kind of like real quick go back to this is like, say if we're both starting at sexual, the
Mhm.
descent feels differently, because when you're descending clockwise sexual into social, it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
Versus when you're descending from sexual down into
yeah.
self-pres, what does that mean? Like
Right.
those types
Well,
of descents in the stackings are
well,
interesting too.
yeah. I mean, and I guess this is one way to talk about that. I don't know if we said it yet, but just the second instinct with the contraflows, it's the wrong thing in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like social sexual is the social type that actually gets some friends going, man. Like all this social self-pres, it's like you're wanting friends and nobody likes you. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Yes, no, that's
but
totally accurate.
it's like it's not being able to do intimacy. That's
Yeah.
the problem with social self-pres. It's like
Yes.
the intimacy that actually like makes friends happen. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. Let's you know, get in our pajamas and
Mm-hmm.
braid our hair and talk about
Right. And I think
sports.
that's because like the intimacy with the self, like with myself, is not
There you
as
go. That's
it
interesting.
yeah, I'm not in touch
Right.
with that, you
Right,
know?
right,
So
right.
like social, of the social dominance, social sexual allows, does they
That's right.
have the intimacy with themselves already on their dashboard because
That's
of
right.
that secondary sexual,
Yep, yep, yep.
so they can be more intimate with others, although of course they have the trap of performing intimacy rather than
Sure, sure.
actually
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
it, which is the same as social self-pres.
Sure.
Like they're not considering intimacy on their dashboard, although they are very, very capable of it. It's
Sure.
just that they're not even allowing that into themselves because they are sexual blind, you know?
Right. And another way to say it is with this looking at the two social types is my thing of social on one level, it is the personality instinct.
Yeah.
So social self-pres is trying to do self-pres. It's trying to build my name or my thing into something solid, formidable, lasting, a book, an ideology, something that, is going to actually affect things, right? The
Mm-hmm.
social sexual is what's happening right now in the energy of the people right around me, and what would be juicy and crackly and interesting and cheeky and funny or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not as it's kind of like seven, that overlap in some sense where it's saying don't take life seriously. Don't even take your personality. I mean, sevens take their personality seriously, but on another level, it's kind of like rolling the dice all the time is an aspect of being a seven or
Yeah.
seven six or whatever is um, fuck it. Throw the cards up in the air, laugh while they land, and see where they land, and just let's go. Do something,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas that's
Yeah.
just like totally not. That would be like, I mean, you probably get the phrase social suicide is probably comes from social self-presence, right?
I think
I don't
too with self-pres middle as well, it is just
know.
like you're not you really just aren't regarding your own ability to regulate yourself. So I think that's why like some social self-pres can be messy and stuff like that, but
Sure.
essentially even if they're not trying to like build something, they're still just like not really relying on being able to like provide that self-preservation like way of regulating the nervous system themselves. And so there's just a reliance still on other people. It's just the way that the reliance happens is kind of more specific, I think, whereas social sexual, it is more like momentarily occurring. It's just like, oh yeah, this is happening, and
Yeah.
there's like something interesting that I'm doing and that you're doing, and that like we can be messy in that place. Whereas self-pres does kind of have that specificity. Like I know there's a type of thing
Yes.
I'm wanting, even if that includes like
It
a
has a
messiness, but
form which is self-pres.
yeah, exactly. But it's in a form that I want, and
Yeah.
like, and it people either aren't doing it or they are, and I'm paying attention to that. Whereas social sexual probably will not be paying
Right.
attention to that because it's not putting any stakes in that, you
One,
know?
one way to say it would be using the elements, social is air, and social self-pres is trying to do something solid with their air, right? Which is
Yeah,
not what you
yeah,
should do with air, on one
right,
level, you could say, right? Like it
right,
should just be like just social things should just be fuck it, like just
yeah,
say whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter on one level. It probably
mm-hmm,
can't relate to that statement yourself, but it just it like who cares? Everybody's fucked up and afraid and scared, and they're all in their personalities and they're neurotic as fuck. So just say whatever, just be
right.
whatever. Who cares?
Well, I think, but and that's why, like, I'm an example of a social self-pres Bermuda, and so to me, that I do have a lot more like of a restraint on things. But like, imagine a social self-pres like 7 or a
Oh yeah.
social self-pres 8. They are gonna let themselves say whatever. They don't have as
Oh
much
yeah.
like,
No, that's true.
and that's yeah, and that's why I'm trying to look more
Yeah,
at
yeah,
like
yeah. Right.
what is it actually doing
Right.
when it's not just about like
Right.
every person, regardless, like all these instincts are somehow you're attached to like a type of identity that you're showcasing to
Yeah.
people, you're getting a response from by people,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. And I think with social self-pres, why it feels not as connected to the other people as much and as cleanly, or not cleanly, but like as intimately as social sexual, is I think because of that self-pres wall in the middle. It's like there's a specificity here that we're up against, whereas sexual really breaks those boundaries.
Well,
That sexual wants the boundaries between me and whoever the fuck is there to kind of just be very fluid. And
that would be actually
self
knowing somebody from the inside and them knowing you
yeah,
in
yeah,
the watery inside, right?
right. And even there, though, like, obviously they get caught up in the performative
Sure.
stance of that and
Yeah.
don't actually really ground it. Whereas social self pres, yeah, is like there's this wall you're hitting
Yeah. Yeah.
before you can get to like
Yeah.
the loose part. So they
That's
can
right.
social self pres types can say whatever the fuck they want,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
but like to really
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
past the boundary
Well,
of the persona they're
well, that's
creating,
a
that's a
way that
lot
it does
harder.
make sense. The not saying, you know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah.
not with, it's contextual to the type and the trifix, right? They're still
Mm-hmm.
doing an, like even that Chris Crocker guy, crazy social self-pres
The
7,
7, yeah.
he was still like, he's a fucking insane Britney crying guy.
Right,
And it's
right.
like he was this person in history who matters, and all this shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? He had this whole
Yeah, my story matters.
my
He's
story.
all yeah, he's contextual, he's
So,
seeing the big picture,
right,
and he's like, my story is this thing that I'm like fitting myself into,
right,
that
right.
you're all a part of, that blah blah blah
And
blah.
so here's
Yeah,
the
it's
here's the other thing
specific.
about my, we're really generally not going around the triangle. We're just going zing, zing, zing down at the bottom of the
Yeah.
triangle. And here's the other way, like I did the self-pres social, but the social self-pres that we're all doing is reiterating the personality. Social
Yes.
self-pres is we're digging a groove. We're stuck in a groove of personality. And part of what personality, like social self-pres is personality. It's well, the structure of the personality. We're looking at psychic structures. We're,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the Enneagram is on one level social self-pres in that way. And it's why
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of social self-preses around in different typology groups.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, and I think even with thinking of like what does it feel like for social to go into self-pres rather than the other way around? It's that like social is your personality, your persona, the mask that you wear. And when you wear
entering
a
a specific
mask,
place, which is self-pres.
yes, but also when you wear a mask, you get certain needs met.
There you go.
If
There you go.
I
Yeah.
perform my personality structure,
Right.
I'll get my needs met. I'll get like if I
Well, it's like
am
my thing earlier with the 3-year-old. It starts, you got to do something with personality almost to, I'll use the word attract almost, but it's like
yeah.
you're to 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 juice the parent to get you some juice or whatever,
Mm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's how you can see them going so back and
right,
forth. It's like I have a need, I
yeah,
need it met, I know it's there, and then social mask is going to get me that need met,
right.
and that when I wear it, I get that need, and blah 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 blah.
Here's another angle too that you can do with this schema is like just the concept of our formative environment not being to varying degrees matched with our personality or an emotionally safe place or where I was seen. You know what I mean? There's all this stuff, and it's interesting, like the overlap of the heart center too. It's like emotional safety and
Mm-hmm.
is my personhood, which is social, my
Yeah.
personality, because your personality is a huge part of you, even at like an essential level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like, was I seen or not? And that's social. You know what I mean? It's like in
Yeah.
my formative world and who recognized me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
they recognized this in me when I was 5 years old. They could see I was
Right, right.
da da da.
Right. And even in sexual types, they're going to
Sure.
know what are the people that I'm going to get something from and
Yeah,
who are the people that I am not.
totally.
You
Yeah.
know, and how then do I, how does my personality structure categorize those people so that I'm either hooked up to engage with that and get my need met, or I completely
That's a good one too, the
dismiss.
categorization, the
Yeah.
labeling, because that's
Mm-hmm.
also what we're doing, starting in childhood. That's part of what we're doing with words. I mean, all the time as when we have already learned language, but part of what we're doing with language that probably helps us learn language when we're 2, 3 years old or whatever is that thing of well, labeling, trying to understand what's going on with other people so that because I'm this little bitty thing and I need to know what's going on with the people, like
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
We
need
don't have words for
descriptors.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, was there anything else I wanted to say about Synflow?
One thing I was going to say real quick is I did sort of like when the self-pres social um, uh, person who's been at a desk for cubicle for 30 years has a realization they need to do something. They join a group. The group's all um, excited, and then each individually does something with the shaman. Just staying with sort of that as a kind of ideal. Then what happens with the shaman, if it's an actual good, whatever, based in something that actually is transformative, does change something, does cause a kind of rebirth or partial rebirth. Then what happens is you're back at self-pres social, and self-pres social is my day-to-day life. What is my lifestyle like? So if a transformation actually did happen with
Mm-hmm.
that witch doctor or whatever, then you are going to start making changes in your day-to-day life. It's not
Yes. Yeah.
going to be the same. So it gets to that idea of instead of us all doing flat circles on a triangle, we're starting to spiral up, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think too, it's like in an alchemical process, the process does not just like end at a peak. It has to be brought back to earth and it has to be grounded on, on this planet, on this
Hmm.
earth.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so therefore, like, that kind of process you're talking about, the transformation, you need to ground it or it just
There you go.
dissipates,
That's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you have to ground it back into something, whether it be into your lifestyle, your concept of self, your
Yeah.
way that you categorize things in life, blah blah
Right,
blah.
right.
Like, it needs to land somewhere back and back down
Yeah.
here in the body, in your life. Yeah.
That, yeah. So in the body, like one thing that that concept is the grounding thing. Like, I'm thinking of that book, Iron John, where
Mm-hmm.
he it's partly a thing of whatever rite of passage for boys into early manhood or whatever, is that one thing that would happen in some cultures is the men at the boys 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there, they would steal them away from the women and the sisters and all that, take them out into the forest, do some kind of shaman crazy thing, rituals and around the fire, and 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 it would end with um like a knife slice on the thigh, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's symbolic of that grounding. Well, and like for the male, it's like I am sensitive. It's like putting a vagina at the thigh, right? I do
Right.
like a there um like being well, it's part oddly enough, partly what the the shaman, let's say, in that is, and it's interesting, like the shaman as sexual self-pres and the sort of androgyny of that. It is kind
Mm-hmm.
of about an integration. It's coming into the masculine in a higher place, which would be to be capable in the chaos, the archetypal chaos of the feminine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Right. I think that's the other thing too with Synflow when we think of the overlaps that we did. That Synflow goes self-prosocial, so there's eight. I think with one it is like eight. The actual symbol of eight
Hmm.
really does have that fluid motion of the
And
life and
infinity
death
too. Yeah.
cycle. Yeah, infinity, life and death cycle,
Hmm.
blah blah blah. Whereas with one, it is very attuned to the whole as above, so below kind of thing, where it's
And
and this
you're
would
either
go.
here or there. Eight knows that that I'm going to be at the bottom again, and
Yes,
I'm going to
yes.
come, and then I'll rise again. And one is
Yeah.
like oh yeah
Yeah.
yeah.
And one too, like with the as above so below thing, that would be very in line with what you were saying about Egypt and the culture of
Mm,
Egyptian culture, where it's like also just kind of like religious connection, whether it be
mhm,
dogma or actual like religious connection. There is the higher power
mhm,
and the me, but the me is almost like I don't just included in
mhm,
so much other stuff that the me is almost like I just become a vessel for this thing. I think that's where that like one thing,
yeah, mhm,
that
right,
type
right,
of
right.
shape, just being like
Mm,
straight up and down, like I am just merely a vessel. Whereas that's where the Messiah complex can
yeah,
come in. That's where social
sure,
self-pres can get
that's right.
really like egoic in their own senses,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
self-pres sexual as well. That it's
Yeah,
just like it's
Messiah
me.
complex would be, sexual, social, going to social self-pres, because that would be being attached
Hmm.
to where I am in the
Yes.
yeah in a
Yeah.
hierarchy, right? So, and
Yeah.
that's interesting too, because like with social self-pres, there's often like the dark side of there's always like it's kind of like type one, where there's like ones often have something that's like absolutely the opposite of all of their principles that they do at 2 in the morning or something,
Yeah.
some major sin, right?
Yeah.
It's social self-pres is going towards SPSX, which is
Hmm.
ultimate decadence, right?
Right.
And sensual lust, whatever, lushness and all that stuff, right? And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
sort of it's the opposite of purity, but yet that's the flow that social self-pres is going towards. And then
Yeah.
SPSX, you could say, is attached to the subversion and um uh I don't know, is sort of attached to hellishness in a way, but also has a sense of being pregnant with the Messiah almost. It's like I
Right.
have something, I don't need to give birth to the Messiah, but I have this charged diamond
Hmm.
somewhere as an atomic bomb, as a, condensed energy that's
Right.
supercharging my soil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's why Contra can that as opposed to the Synflow kind of like holding chaos and feeling the movement and knowing the movement's
Mhm.
happening. Contra is very much not feeling the movement happening and
That's right.
therefore
It's, yeah.
being a little bit
Like I
more
was saying, it doesn't
rigid.
want to flow, actually.
Yes, yes,
And,
exactly. It feels a bit more rigid in its hype structure. It feels
and
like it's pushing away from people, or it doesn't
yeah.
feel like it belongs necessarily within people. Like I'm even thinking of like you were bringing up the social blind comparisons, that
Hmm.
sexual self-pres and self-pres sexual.
Hmm.
That sexual self-pres still feels, even though they're social blind, and however they are demonizing social, there's a way that um there's still a connective function because they
Yeah.
are still relying on sexual as a dominant instinct still
Hmm.
relies on another person
Yeah.
to fully kind of
It wants to do
give it.
chemistry with something, kind of.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas with self-pres sexual and however they demonize social, it is just like there's a total mismatch and a
Yeah.
total demonization, like the other and society becomes one big unnuanced glob of
Yeah.
something I can
Right.
demonize, and
Right.
because it's like totally pitting itself
Yeah. Yeah.
against the instinct, where yeah, whereas sexual self-pres, yes, they're demonizing social and they're still pitting themselves against the instinct, but it's still inclusive, like because
Right.
of that sexual still including another,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
it's gonna
That.
somehow not
Yeah. That's.
feel as like viscerally
Mhm.
pushing away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's reminding me. I wanted to do like we did social self-pres versus social sexual, and why social sexual is quote unquote doing the right thing with social.
Yeah.
And like SPSX is like SPSO is doing the right thing with SP,
Yeah,
right? It's not
they
it's
sure
not
are.
bringing fire, it's not burning the thing down,
Yeah.
right? And it's not subverting the solid forms, that all these things you've been building. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
SPSX, it's actually destructive.
It's
It's
very
not it's
destructive.
not self-preservation. It's
Yeah.
actually, and it's often the case that SPSX people are like truly just, it takes it, some of them just never stop doing something that's self-destructive. It just doesn't
Yes.
stop. I mean, I can
Hmm.
say it at this age, and I'm not talking about myself, of course, but
Oh, of course.
no, yeah, I mean, I've got like eight self-pres sexual friends from high school, so I've seen the arc.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so, well, and maybe I've said it before. I don't know if I've said it too many times or whatever, but I was think of a dumb little simple thing is like with the two self-presses, a clay pot, with a lid on it, with air in it. That's just a fucking clay pot. That's how it should be.
Hmm.
But a clay pot that's got, fire and water, it's sort of starting to destroy the clay pot. It's destroying me, right? It's
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
boiling the water, and make it more dramatic. Put in electricity and what's the other one? Ice or whatever. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Temperatures and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a volatility that festers because it doesn't have air hardly.
Right.
So that's part of the problem too, so to speak, right? With
Yes. Yeah.
and then with sexual social and sexual self-pres is sexual going towards the self-pres. Let's actually consummate and have sex, right?
Hmm.
Sexual social is like it's doing the display and sort of isn't invested or compelled towards the actual consummation. It wants to be seen doing the mating dance or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one level, sexual is supposed to be or is in a very broad brushstroke, sexuality is amoral. It's neither good nor bad, right?
Right.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, so sexual social is sort of trying to do something higher, what's the higher good that I should be doing with this?
Oh, I see. Yeah,
See?
yeah, yeah.
And that
Mm-hmm.
sort of brings in the two thing. Like, I'm supposed to intimately, interpersonally penetrate you, right?
Hmm.
But it's all for your own good, your higher good, right? There's two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think that's interesting too, even with social self-pres, there's a little bit of that in there too. And that's maybe where I
Which
see
thing?
the
Which thing?
like social self-pres as opposed to social sexual, that social is doing something very similar that you just described with sexual social, where it's just like um
Hmm.
there is a kind of like right way to connect. There is a right way that
There
we
you go.
can
That's it.
that
That's
this is
important
meant.
right there.
Yeah,
That's why the
right.
connecting doesn't happen, right?
Exactly.
Because, and it's also gets back to the one overlap because
Hmm.
the personality has the sense that there is this one way to connect and I need to do it this way, or else I'm going to look disordered, right? Again,
Yeah.
the one-ish overlap. I'm not going to be um, squeezed into this particular singular thing that my personality and ego need me to be seen as, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Improvisation is bad or whatever, right? I mean, it's part of the meta symbolism of sexual being at the top of the triangle in the
Yeah.
overlaps thing is that, um, and it applies to people with sexual and their stacking too, just that ideally, like super ideally, we would all be changing all the time or more open to change and not, well, not fixated, right? I mean,
Yeah.
bringing fire and water and willing to destroy or wash away the whole thing and not
Hmm.
be so, rigidly squeezed into this thing that doesn't want to move and really insists that like it's life threatening if you did do
Well,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and I think even with sexual adding to both, like if we think of Synflow as like,
Mm.
really holding the domain that eight does of chaos,
Hmm.
but also lacking sexual, so there's still not
Sure.
really vulnerability there. And
Right.
Contraflow holding that domain of one that
Mm.
is also lacking sexual,
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
it's like all of these dynamics essentially do not allow people to be vulnerable with themselves and therefore vulnerable with
That's
others
right.
and therefore breaking down their
So,
rigid personality structure. And I think that's, like even when I was describing that social sexual compared to what I'm doing as a social self-pres and other social self-pres types
mhm.
are doing, I do perceive it as more vulnerable. It is just there it isn't
You perceive what as more
it's
vulnerable?
like
Which,
what social sexual types are
yeah,
doing,
yeah,
quote unquote, like where
sure.
how I perceive them is more vulnerably seeming than I
Hmm.
am. It's still wrapped up in a lot of persona stuff and a lot of boundary stuff and a lot of concept of self and how I get my needs met
Uh-huh.
stuff. They're still doing it to for the sake of getting a need met,
Sure.
whereas
Yeah.
like just with people in general, um the vulnerability really not like not allowing something within to have that sexual integrated element where it's
Hmm.
just kind of cracking itself open just
Right.
for myself
Right.
and just to myself, like
Yep.
the nine kind
Yep.
of represents archetypally, like to allow that transformation, the alchemy,
Hmm.
to do something internally in the
Mm.
body,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um and therefore, without even consideration of how it would look or feel or
Hmm.
be out externally, like
Right.
that process just doesn't happen for a lot of us. All right, so how about I give my examples
Oh, wow.
of the things that I wanted to show.
Oh, is
um
this show and tell?
this is show and tell. Yeah, so we're
Okay.
gonna watch two examples of this process. So we're gonna watch this is Tim Burton's film, who is type social sexual 5 wing 4, and this is his film Edward Scissorhands. Many people know it. Um, it's an older film, but essentially, uh, you'll we're gonna watch a dinner scene, and it's got all of the Synflow elements in it, and it's just interesting. Whereas for the Contra, we're gonna watch Yorgos Lanthimos, who's social self-pres, Five Wing Six, in his film Poor Things, and watch a dinner scene and feel how Contra feels in a dinner scene.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
so what's interesting too is that both of these people are five, and so the themes of both of
Mm.
these movies
Yep.
is here is a character that we are following throughout the movie that's somehow fucked up, like
Mm.
they were literally invented by these mad
Right.
scientist inventors, and they are having to navigate the world with these weird deficiencies.
Yeah.
So they're
Sort of
both,
non-human. Yeah.
yeah, they're both already starting in
Right.
really weird
Yeah.
places. But there's a way, yeah, like just to get that idea
Yeah.
across, that like even with fives who overlap self-prosexual, so they're
Hmm.
weird, they're already going against the grain, which obviously people who are synflow can go against the grain,
Sure. Yeah.
but
Of course.
in the personality is different than in like what they're kind of just doing day to day. And so to see that like in their artistic expressions, someone who is a little quirky and strange but still synflow, and
Hmm.
someone who's quirky and strange and contraflow, like how does that
Yeah.
come out, is just so fascinating. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's why people like their films,
Hmm.
regardless of what stacking they are, because like
Right.
archetypally, it really does illustrate
Hmm.
the weird quality that we have, like
Hmm.
just in general being not as connected, like kind of everyone being in the self-pres starting point of
Yeah. Yeah.
just like not fully connecting to people, but also like being concerned about that, but also not getting it, but
Right.
also, you know what I mean?
So
Like,
right. And so one thing you can do with this that this can lead to is type five is the type you would say is the most solely in their head, like cut off at the neck from the body, right?
yeah.
And five is correlates with the hell realm and SPSX, and that's what everyone is doing. They are making their own babies
Mm-hmm.
in their minds.
Mm-hmm.
People are too much only in their minds. They think there is only the minds that they think they have, or you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Everyone has this sense of I'm only located right here, and that
Yeah.
my senses are all I have to perceive with,
Mm-hmm.
and and that I am separate and not connected to everything. So that's sort of a social blindness and a cut off from the bodiness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, and even too, just the instincts with overlapping self-prosexual, like you are attracted to the thing
Mm,
that
yeah,
gets you
yeah,
to the place physically that you want to be, like
yeah,
that you feel optimal with. I
yeah, yeah,
think that's why it's like whatever you're going for is kind of creating that addiction, that hell realm that you're living in. It's
yeah,
it's an addiction because you're finding something so
yeah,
desirable enough to just keep
yeah.
taking it.
You're wanting you're charging yourself. You're charging
Yes, yeah,
yourself up. Yeah.
yeah. All right, so let me show the first. We'll watch the Synflow one first.
You know what Edward was telling me? He had lunch at Jackie's today, and
Really?
she just had her kitchen completely redone.
I'll be darned.
New paint, new cabinets, new floors, a new microwave, new silent dishwasher.
Isn't that wonderful?
Isn't that something? Jim, didn't you just tell me your mom had her kitchen done too?
Yeah, my dad bought himself a bunch of new toys.
Really?
Yeah, big screen TV,
Hmm.
CD players,
Huh.
VCR with four heads.
My goodness sake. I wonder what it's like to be that rich.
Well, they keep things pretty much locked up. My father has his own room for his stuff to make sure I can't get any use of it. He's so cheap he won't even help me buy an old car.
Well, he probably wants you to pay for it yourself. I agree with him. It builds character. You'll appreciate it more.
God.
Speaking of money, I understand you're not charging for your gardening, Edward.
Now, Bill, Marge made him cookies today.
Sweetheart, you can't buy the necessities of life with cookies. You can't buy a car with cookies. Am I right, Jim?
Oh, that's true, sir. You can't.
I can't eat that. He used his hands. I don't think it's sanitary.
I'm sorry.
Honey, you want me to help you clean that out?
No, that's okay. I'll be right back.
It's just like, it's so funny because of him being too like a 5-wing-4.
Yeah,
A lot
no,
of
it's
his
true.
movies still being like really very Synflow. Like it's
True.
weird.
It's strange.
It's absolutely weird, but the narrative is so linear and it's
Mm-hmm.
so comprehensive, and like
Yeah.
there's just interesting ways that things develop, but it does have that, like, there's always, some kind of setting that we're all aware of, and that we're in the setting. I think that's why a lot of writers are self-pres social, like a lot of writers, because they're just here's the setting,
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and here's where each character has some kind of place in the setting, even if it's weird, even if it doesn't feel like it belongs, and now there's some kind of transformation that will happen. There's some kind of descent. There's some kind of collapse. Like there's
That's
a
right.
way
That's
that
right.
like,
It can
and
flow in a way.
yeah, there's a flow
Story,
to it.
yeah, like it's whereas with Contra, the stories are so grand and epic and all that stuff. It's not. It's like
Yeah, and with
500-year
Contra,
cycles or whatever.
yeah, right. And with Contra, it's like, I don't know where I'm being placed at this moment, and I don't know who these people are,
Okay.
and I'm not actually introduced to this world in a very well way,
Yeah,
and so I'm
okay.
just kind of thrown into it.
Huh.
Like, I think with social self-pres, it's just kind of like, I show up and I'm expected to know what the fuck's happening here, and I have not been given any of the laws, because there is some grander
Well,
vision that is happening.
it's also interesting, like SPSO versus SOSP, like because SPSO is social middle, you could say it's for sure not as attached to its personality. If social is personality, right? It's like
Right, yeah.
my
Yeah.
personality is just a improvisational tool to get practical things done, right?
Yes.
Whereas with social self-pres, it's like something is supposed to happen here. I'm supposed to be something already,
Yes.
or
Yes.
these people need to recognize that I am something or something, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
There's already a hierarchy going on. There's already
Yeah.
something
So
being
it's an
thrown in, something
overattachment to
being
person. It's the
comparative.
solidity of the personality is
Mhm.
given precedence, and
Yeah.
so that's a good way to separate yourself contra, right?
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep. Okay, so then let's
respect
watch
my authority,
let's watch the other one. You can just already feel the hit
Hmm.
of difference.
Kitty, did you see the new show in London by Wilde? Marvelously witty.
I loved it. A handbag.
Bella,
What? Why I keep it in my mouth if it is revolting?
I have said that before to
This is
Gerald.
like cartoon social self-pres.
If you catch my drift.
you are wicked.
Oh, because you mean his penis. Duncan's can sometimes be salty.
Good God, Bella.
I must go punch that baby.
Your behavior is unconscionable. We behave.
The food was cacking my throat, the baby annoying, and the woman boring with words.
You will rejoin the table and you confine yourself to the following 3 phrases. How marvelous, delighted, and how do they make the pastry so crisp, yes?
You are hurting, Bella.
Sorry. Reason does not penetrate. Let us go. Oh.
It's funny. Well,
Are you enjoying Lisbon, Bella?
Delighted.
Kitty, How is your dear father?
He's very unwell. I fear he will not see the year out.
Oh.
How marvelous. How do they get the pastry so crisp?
It's funny how that's social self-pres, like what she was doing there in some sense of scripted personality, right?
Yep.
It's supposed to be this one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or or I mean, he was doing it too, like saying that's how it should be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just this, I mean, even the atmosphere, like you have two fives creating some kind of atmosphere in their movies.
Yeah.
And like, again, Tim Burton's films, the atmosphere you're included in, you're understanding, even if it's weird, even if you have to put a little bit of effort into like, what does that mean with this and that? But there's some sort of expected thing happening, a thread happening. Whereas with Social Self-Pres and Contra, I think a lot of like Contraflow filmmakers, artists, writers, whatever, they run the risk of people not fucking getting it at all. Like I think of David Lynch's films. And you know, there are people that do obsess over like, what does this mean? Like the big picture.
No, and that's,
but when you're watching it, like you have to have a taste for it, because it's like, what the fuck is this? You know, like I don't get it. It's not landing. It's because Contra is just not, it doesn't feel the need to necessarily include you in what it's trying to show. And like in that atmosphere of a dinner, it's just like, who is like, why is this happening? I'm uncomfortable. I don't know the point of this. Obviously she's, you know, being defiant in some way.
There's not sexual instinct, like symbolically speaking, improvisation, right? People can't do improvisation because they're attached to their personality in a certain
Right. And and no one is flowing with each other at all, even if it's an argument, you know, like even though there was tension in the dinner scene with Tim Burton, and like I think of lots of dinner scenes, like White Lotus, that they have lots of dinner scenes with lots of tension, but the tension is like, oh, there's something like growing beneath these people.
Something's gonna break, or
sexual's gonna break something down.
Like the
everyone. Whereas with Contra, it's like, I don't like. Are we like, what's happening there? No one's connected, and nothing's like, the breaking point's gonna be, I don't even know what, you know.
5 is totally building their own orientation to the world and their own conceptual abstract, you know, map of what is or whatever. And 1 is saying that they have the one way. I have this. I know the one way that everything should be done, actually. And then 2 is sacrosanct pride and self, you know, identifying with the angelic and the saintly and the godly and the heavenly, right? So that's keeping, you know, and I don't need anything. That's a good one for 2. Right. It's it sort of correlates with Messiah, like the Messiah on one level, I don't know, is you know, the perfect human who already is transcended, and so he doesn't need anyone on one level, because psychological, emotional wholeness or something, or full integration or something.
Well, and even just thinking with Contra and art, like their art becomes like a message, and even people who, and it becomes like a one singular expressive message of or design of some kind. Like I even think
that's right.
You know, there's a lot of social self-preses that do like films or art, whatever, that have a social message, whereas like even self-pres sexuals, like I think of David Lynch, and he might not necessarily have a social message, but he did really put like, my art form has one like divine expression that it's taking on now, you know.
And there's, I mean, Lynchian is a term, right? It's
and I was gonna say, even like people who often critique the message of art are contra. They're social. They're the social self-pres types, and even you, me, and Alexandra are like the only ones doing like movie reviews, and so because it's just like, what's the message in this thing that type one kind of divine, as above so below. Whereas like with Synflow, they do have like messages, but a lot of it, I think they actually have more room into what the components of their story or that of their art form take. Like they can be messier, they can not have any kind of message behind it, they can have a linear, they can not have a linear, like it's kind of just like they're focused on like, okay, what's this story, what's it about, what's it telling, what's the arc, what's the character development, blah blah, like they're including all of these components. What is if it's like a critiquing kind of thing, it's like, how does this story told in the practical sense? Like in what form does it take, and does it successfully tell that, like that kind of thing. There's all these ways that I think Synflow has more intricate room to expand that eightness, like expand what they're trying to do with art. Whereas Contra is just kind of they're considering the intricacies, but they're really kind of only honing it in on like one sort of way of expressing or way of communicating something or whatever. Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good starting point.
We'll do 17 more.
Yeah, we'll do 17 more and find more examples. I was gonna look at like physical art too, like painting or whatever, but I just didn't. I felt like videos would be more fun to because I feel like in videos too, in movies you can see this process happening. Like if we wanted to break down the theme of these two movies, like the direction that it goes in, you can really see the movement of the instincts more in the direction of like a movie. Well, anyway,
let's kill it.
That's good.
Right.